What are we looking for? Dogs.
What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Bird. We back on Bird's Eye View with it. Like always, appreciate the love and support. Please continue to like, comment, and subscribe. Start what you're doing. Smash the like button, smash subscribe button. Hop in the comment section, comment whatever you want. Of course, I'm dropping daily bangers day by day. You know, we got news of the day coming out of Colorado, and we're going to jump right into it. So, of course, we back for another recap with this Colorado football program. As always, shout out Well Off Media, Reach the People Media, the pregame show, for providing us phenomenal footage each and every day. Of course, I'm going to bring you guys the projected defensive starter video. I appreciate you guys for running the offensive video up. I had to cut out a little bit of Omarion Miller and all of Zach Chris. I got hit with a BS copyright, man. I ain't even gonna get into it, but appreciate you guys for running that video up. If you hear a little like echo, sorry about that. Of course, I just moved into my new crib, dog, so I'm trying to get everything set up in my office space, so it's a lot going on, but sorry about the echo. But let's jump into the defensive starters. We're gonna start with the edge rushers, man. Of course, we got Arden Walker, 6'2", 250 out of Denver, Colorado. Of course, played 13 games last season in 2024. He started the final 2 games, including the Alamo Bowl. He finished the season with 33 tackles, 6.5 tackles for loss, 5 quarterback hurries. He also had 4.5 sacks. He also forced a fumble as well, too. He was the second highest ranked edge rusher in the Big 12, according to PFF. Of course, his best game came on the road against Texas Tech. He had 7 tackles, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, forced a fumble in that game. Of course, that fumble was the one that Shiloh picked up and ended up scoring. That was his first career multi-sack game. Of course, expecting a lot of great things out of that young man. Let's keep it rolling, man. Sam Okunlola, we all know about the edge rusher, 6'4", 250 out of Brockton, Massachusetts. Of course, came from Pittsburgh. Played in all 13 games in 2024 as well, making 10 starts. He finished the season with 30 tackles, 8 quarterback hurries, 7 tackles for loss. He had 3 sacks. He also had a PBU as well, too. Of course, he was a member of the CFN Big 12 Defensive Line of the Year. He's been very solid, even dating back to his days at Pittsburgh. Of course, he came from Pitt before he transferred to this Colorado football program. Was highly successful at Pitt as well, and a lot of his game translated over to Colorado as well. Be excited for Sam Okunlola. I feel like he takes a next big step here this year. He's the type of player, the type of athlete that can lead this team in sacks. He has that type of ability, and I'm looking forward to seeing him continue to grow, continue to develop, and turn his game to the next level without question. I mean, it was tough, right? We have some talented football players on that side of the ball. We're definitely loaded in the edge room without question. There's multiple guys that we could have chosen here, but in my opinion, Sam Okunlola, right, and Arden Walker will be the 2 guys flying off the edge against Georgia Tech. Of course, we're going to rotate guys, but let's get into the defensive tackles here, man. Jaheim Otis, of course, 6'5", 320 out of Columbia, Mississippi, Alabama. Transfer, was the #1 defensive lineman in the portal, top 10 player in the portal when he entered. Of course, coming out of high school in 2022, he was the #1 player in Mississippi, top 12 defensive lineman in the country. He was a blue chip guy. I mean, just physically gifted with excellent athleticism for his size, frame, and mass to be an anchor in the run game, but also shows the finesse and the ability to be able to get after the quarterback as well. Of course, at Alabama, had a lot of success in 2022 as a freshman. He was a freshman All-SEC lister, 12 games, 10 starts, 29 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, a sack. He had 4 quarterback hurries, 2 PBUs. Of course, battled some injuries in 2023, which led to limited production there. And then, of course, in 2024, we're just looking to heal up, right? So that's why he ended up redshirting. Love this get here. He is a pro, man, and he's going to be an anchor for us in the middle. Let's keep it rolling, dog. Amari McNeil, 6'4", 300 pounds out of Swaney, Georgia. Of course, last season played in 11 games, had 25 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, 4 third down stops. He had 3.5 sacks, 3 quarterback hurries, forced a fumble, blocked the kick. Of course, his best game was on the road against Texas Tech. 9 tackles. He had 3 tackles for loss, 1.5 sacks. That performance earned him Big 12 Defensive Player of the Week. I feel like he's going to take a next step as well, too. There's a lot of great things about his game. Looking forward to seeing Amari McNeil continue to grind. Let's keep it rolling, dog. Switch over to linebackers, man. Reginald Hughes, right? 6'2", 230 out of Mississippi, Jacksonville State transfer. Of course, he was one of the top JUCO players in the country. He was a JUCO guy originally, #1 JUCO linebacker in the country. He then went to Ole Miss, had limited production there. Then he transferred to Jacksonville State, and he blossomed. In 2024, 83 tackles, which was 3rd on the team, 9.5 tackles for loss. That was also 3rd on the team. He had 4.5 sacks, 6 quarterback hurries. He was first team All-Conference USA as well. He was very sought after coming out of the transfer portal. He had offers from Michigan State, Georgia Tech, Kansas, Mississippi State, Houston, Iowa State, State, Kentucky, just to name a few. Of course, he ultimately committed to this Colorado football program, and he is going to be an impact player on the defensive side of the football. Another one here, right? We expect to be an impact player on the defensive side of the ball. Martavius French, linebacker, 6'2", 225, out of Memphis, Tennessee, UTSA transfer. Started his career off at Tennessee in 2020. He then transferred to Hutchinson Community College. He had a lot of production there. Of course, left Hutchinson Community College, ended up transferring to UTSA, was all conference last year in the AAC. In 2024, he was special, dog. 80 tackles, 17 tackles for loss. He had a tackle for loss in every game this past season. Of course, he led all inside linebackers in the country with tackles for loss. He was top 10 in the nation in tackles for loss. Again, 17 of those last season. Of course, this young man, right, obviously had offers out of the transfer portal. There were other schools interested in the services. I know UNC, UCF, just to name a couple. Of course, he ultimately committed to this Colorado football program. Love this get here. Love the pair that we have here at linebacker. It's going to be fun watching these two young men fly around. Let's switch over to DBs. We're going to start at corner, right? DJ McKinney, 6'2", $180, out of Colleyville, Texas. Of course, transferred from Oklahoma State last season for Colorado. Played and started all 13 games. He had the most defensive snaps on the team with 840. Of course, he's finished with 62 total tackles, which was third on the team. He had 9 PBUs. He also had 3 interceptions, 3 tackles for loss. He had 1 forced fumble. He also had a fumble recovery as well, too. Of course, McKinney ranked 4th in the Big 12 in both passes defended and PBUs as well. Of course, he recorded his first interception against Utah. And then he had another interception against Oklahoma State, which was a pick 6. And then, of course, he got the 3rd interception in the BYU game as well, too. Of course, there's a lot of hype surrounding DJ McKinney coming in this season, preseason, first team all conference, expecting an NFL future out of this young man. It's going to be fun watching him ball out. Let's keep rolling, man. Tariqus Davis, cornerback, 5'10", $190, out of Greenville, Texas, Wyoming transfer. Actually started his career off at Navarro Community College. He was teammates with Preston Hodge there as well before Preston transferred to Liberty. And of course, Tariqus ended up at Wyoming. He had a very solid season last year for the Cowboys. Of course, he finished with 42 tackles, had 1 tackle for loss. He had an interception. He had 8 PBUs, which led that Cowboys defense. He also forced a fumble. He blocked a kick as well, too. He had 6 games last season where he gave up 2 or fewer catches. He pretty much had 70 grade across the board when it comes to PFF defense, run defense, tackle, coverage, pretty much a 70 across the board, which is solid. Of course, it was tough for me, man, picking this cornerback too. Going between Teion Parks, a transfer from Illinois State, RJ Johnson, who had a phenomenal spring. He was a spring standout, in my opinion. Now, of course, with DBs, you're going to be able to rotate DBs. You can't forget about Noah King as well, too, the 4-star true freshman, transferred in from K-State, was the #1 corner in Ohio. He may see some tick as well, too. At the nickel, right, Preston Hodge. Of course, we all know about the cornerback, right? 6 foot, 200 pounds, out of Texas, Liberty transfer. Of course, in 2024, played and started in 9 games for this Colorado football program. Of course, he missed the final 4 games due to injury. He still finished with 33 tackles, had 7 PBUs. He also had 6 third down stops, 2 interceptions. He had 1 fourth down stop. He had a half a tackle for loss as well, too. Of course, we're expecting him to be a standout without question. This young man here can make a lot of plays, man. We were all excited that he was able to get that year of eligibility back and join this 2025 group of Buffaloes. He's already been placed on the Shrine Bowl 1000 list, pretty much like a preseason watch list for the East-West Shrine Bowl. Looking forward to the continued growth and development of his game. I believe he has a pro future as well, too. Versatile DB that can do a lot of great things in the defensive backfield. Let's switch over to the safeties, man. And of course, we got to start with Taufik Bayard, the safety, 6'1", 220, right, out of York, Pennsylvania, USF transfer. Of course, this young man here, right, instinctive and rangy safety that loves to tackle. You know, you see him violently crashing downhill in the run game. He has a nose for the football. Of course, in 2024, as a redshirt freshman, 54 tackles, which was 3rd on the team. He had 8 tackles for loss, 4th on the team. He had an interception, a fumble recovery. He also had 2 sacks as well, too. Of course, I know the last name Bayard rings a bell. He is the younger brother of 2-time first-team NFL All-Pro free safety Kevin Bayard. He also had another brother that plays at Middle Tennessee State as well, too. So they come from a super athletic family. Of course, he had bigger offers than USF. He chose USF over Louisville, Ole Miss, Boston College, West Virginia, just to name a few, right? Of course, This young man had 3 years of eligibility. Again, he was just a redshirt freshman last season, so we have 3 years eligibility out of him. He can make a lot of plays, man. He's going to be flying around. Of course, we lost our 2 starting safeties to the NFL when you look at Cam and when you look at Shiloh as well, so we had to replace that production. I think we're going to do so with Taufik. Last but certainly not least, at safety, Carter Stottmeyer, 5'11", 210, right out of Plano, Texas. Played in all 13 games last season with this Colorado football program, starting 7, split between 2 positions, right? His first 3 starts of the season came at safety, was filling in for Shiloh. His last 4 games of the season, he started at nickel for Preston Hodge. Of course, this young man here finished with 42 tackles, 7 PBUs. He also had 2 quarterback hurries as well, 2 forced to fumble, had a tackle for loss as well too. Carter Stottmeyer is definitely gonna be able to make plays in the secondary, man. So of course, this is just my opinion here, right? I mean, it was tough when it comes to choosing my projected starters, especially when you look at our defensive line group, because we're so deep at the position, right? When we look at our in total defensive line group, I mean, you know, you got guys out in the interior, right? Anquin Barnes, right? Tavian Coleman, Taufik Thomas, Gabriel Lightfoot, Tareen Carter, right? Christian Hudson, the true freshman, right? And then off the edge, Quincy Wiggins, Brandon Davis Swain, of course, got London Merritt, Alexander McPherson, right? Just throwing some names out there. With linebacker, right? Don't forget about Kylan Salter. He was a spring standout, in my opinion. And of course, the younger brother of Caden Salter, the quarterback. So I think Kylan is going to see some opportunities to play as well. Sean Myers, the transfer from North Alabama, right? Still got Jeremiah Brown on the roster as well, too. And like I said, RJ Johnson was a spring standout. It was tough for me not putting him at cornerback, too. But I think he's definitely going to be able to get on the field. Tion Parks, Noah King, Makari Vickers. We'll see what goes on there. And at safety as well, of course, you got to remember that we brought in guys like Terrence Love out of Auburn, right? We brought in John Slaughter, right, out of Tennessee. Then, of course, TJ Branch Jr., the 4-star true freshman who caught the interception in the spring game. It's going to be tough to keep him off the field, right? He's going to get some opportunities to play as well. It's great problems to have when you have depth at each position. That's why, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinion, we believe that this team as a whole is going to be a better team this year because of the depth that we have at positions. So it's gonna be fun to watch our guys fly around, make plays, man. But not gonna keep it long. Just want to bring you guys on the phenomenal update. Please continue to like, comment, and subscribe. You know what time it is, dog. Bird's eye view, man.